This happened back in 2017, when I was a sophomore at a small liberal arts college in upstate New York. The campus was surrounded by these old, winding roads, lined with forests, cornfields, and cemeteries that dated all the way back to the 1800s. I used to jog at night. Stupid, I know, but I liked the quiet. Fall was my favorite time of year. Chilly air, not too cold, leaves crunching under my shoes, and that faint smell of smoke from the fireplaces in town. One night, in early October, I decided to take a new route that just so happened to loop past an old cemetery, about a mile from campus. It wasn't the best lit route. There was a few lamps by the gate of the cemetery, and some streetlights along the road. But I felt confident having my phone flashlight to light the way. As I passed the entrance, I noticed a man jogging inside the cemetery. Hoodie, sweatpants, steady pace. Thought it was weird. Most people avoid cemeteries at night. But hey, maybe he was like me. I kept going, but when I glanced back, I noticed he wasn't circling the paths inside the cemetery. He was jogging parallel to me, weaving between headstones, keeping the exact same pace as me on the road. I told myself it must have been a coincidence. When I slowed down, he slowed down. When I sped up, he sped up. Always staying in line with me. Maybe 30 feet away, but inside the graveyard while I was outside on the road. Finally, I stopped under a streetlight. The man stopped too, standing just behind a row of crooked stones. I could see him pretty clearly now. No phone, no headphones, not even heavy breathing. Just standing perfectly still, like he'd been waiting for me to notice. I turned and ran as fast as I could back toward campus. My lungs were burning in the chilly night air, but I didn't dare look back until I reached the main road. When I finally did, it looked like the cemetery was empty. For weeks, I avoided that route. Here's the part that still gets me. A few weeks later, right before winter break, I was walking to class and saw a missing person flyer on the student bulletin board. The face was blurry. It looked like a candid photo. But it was unmistakable. The guy in the photo was the jogger I saw. The exact same hoodie and sweatpants. Date of the disappearance, October 3rd. The exact night I saw him. I grew up in Vermont, in one of those small towns where fall was basically the entire personality of the place. We didn't have shopping malls or big events, but every September through November, there was apple picking, hay rides, corn mazes, pumpkin patches, you name it. People from bigger towns would drive up just to take pictures of the leaves on our roads. My family didn't have a lot of money, but the orchard about 20 minutes outside of town was cheap entertainment. They made the best cider donuts, pressed on site, and every fall our whole high school would end up there at some point. The owners leaned into the rustic vibe hard. Rickety wagons pulled by tractors, bales of hay to sit on, petting zoo with goats, and this giant pumpkin patch in the back field. That year I was 16. Old enough to feel like I was too cool for hay rides, but not old enough to have any better plans. Two best friends were Josh and Emily. We'd been close since middle school. Josh was the loud one, always daring people to do dumb stuff, while Emily was cautious, the one who kept us from getting into too much trouble. It was mid-October, one of those crisp afternoons where the air smelled like wood smoke and damp leaves. The orchard was busy at first. Families with little kids, teenagers with first dates, but by the time the sun started going down, most of the crowd had thinned out. We were sitting on the wagon during the last hayride of the night when Josh pointed toward the far side of the property. Past the neat rows of apple trees, way out where the land dipped, you could barely see this collapsed-looking barn tucked against the tree line. The tractor didn't go near it, and I'd never seen anyone working out there. Bet you won't go check it out, Josh smirked. Emily rolled her eyes. They probably keep old equipment in there. You'll just get yelled at. But of course, once Josh said it, it turned into a dare. After the hayride ended and the employees started packing up, the three of us slipped away toward the barn. The orchard was quieter back there. No voices, no music from the main stand, just the crunch of leaves under our sneakers. The barn looked worse up close. The wood was gray, weathered like driftwood, and the roof sagged in the middle. One of the big doors was hanging open just enough to slip inside. The closer we got, the heavier the air felt. It wasn't colder exactly, just still, like the usual night sounds. Crickets, wind in the trees, had gone mute. Emily stopped a few feet away, arms crossed tight. "I'm not going in there," she said. Josh laughed, but it sounded forced. "Suit yourself," he said. I reluctantly followed. Inside, it smelled like damp hay, rust, and something sour underneath. Shafts of fading sunlight cut through the gaps in the wood, catching on piles of junk. Broken ladders, rusted tools, crates caved in on themselves. I remember my sneakers crunching on the dirt floor and how loud it felt in that silence. Then I noticed it. In the center of the barn was a circle of small pumpkins, each carved with a face. Not the cute kind either. Jagged mouths, uneven eyes, like they'd been hacked at with dull knives. Most were half rotten, caved in on one side, but they were arranged deliberately. Inside the circle was a pile of clothes. Kids' clothes. Tiny sneakers, a pink jacket, jeans folded but damp and stained. Josh leaned in, whispering, "Dude, this is messed up." That's when I heard it. Slow, deliberate footsteps above us. Heavy boards creaking on the loft. We froze. The employees had already closed up shop. Nobody should have been in there. The footsteps moved closer, like someone was deliberately pacing to the edge, right above the circle of pumpkins. I looked up, but the loft was too dark. Just shadows. Josh grabbed my arm. "We need to go." We bolted out of there, nearly knocking Emily over on the way. She was pale, eyes wide. Before I could say anything, she whispered, "Someone's in the window." I turned and saw a shadowy figure quickly disappear from the frame. We ran as fast as we could. Once we got to our car, we started the engine and didn't look back, peeling out of the parking lot. We never told anyone. Not our parents, not the orchard staff. We didn't want to get in trouble for trespassing. We just swore not to go back. But about a month later, right before Thanksgiving, there was a story on the local news. A boy had gone missing during a school field trip to that same orchard. They showed a picture of him in his jacket, smiling, holding a donut, and my stomach dropped. I couldn't stop thinking about that pile of clothes. Small sneakers. I've never gone back to that orchard. I don't even like eating apples anymore. This happened 2 years ago, right before Thanksgiving. I was driving back from visiting a friend in Massachusetts, cutting through rural Connecticut to get home. The kind of drive where the headlights barely reach past the hood of your car because of the fog. The only sound is tires crunching over leaves and frozen mud. It was one of those late November nights where the air smells damp and earthy, almost like you can smell the snow that's waiting around the corner to fall. The trees lean over the road, skeletal and silent. It was around midnight. I was about halfway through my drive when my gas light flickered on. I continued driving for a short while when I noticed a tiny station off the road. I didn't expect much, just a place to fill up and grab something warm, maybe a cup of coffee to keep me up. But as I pulled in, I felt a little twinge of unease. The station looked frozen in time. One old pump, a sagging sign that buzzed intermittently, and lights so dim they barely cut through the fog. Inside, I imagined decades of customers, all passing through with the same quiet routine. Suddenly, the idea of being the only person there felt heavier than I expected. I went inside to grab a coffee for the road and pay for my gas. The bell over the door jingled faintly, but the place was otherwise silent. Behind the counter sat an older man with a long beard, hunched over a newspaper. His hands moved slowly, almost ceremonially, turning the pages as if each word weighed something. He didn't look up when I came in, and I noticed that for the first time in a long time, I wasn't thinking about my day, or the drive home, or what I needed to do tomorrow. I was just watching him. His eyes stayed hidden beneath his brow, as if he were keeping some secret. As I poured my coffee, I felt a flicker of movement out the corner of my eye. In the back aisle, another man was standing there. I froze. He wasn't browsing. He wasn't shifting from foot to foot. He was just there, still. His jacket was brown and worn, and a baseball cap pulled low over his face. I couldn't see his eyes, but I felt them, heavy on me, like a dark weight pressing through the fluorescent haze. My stomach began to tighten. Something about the way he held himself, the unnatural stiffness, the way his hands hung limply at his sides, made my skin crawl. I tried to shake it off, telling myself that I'd probably just imagined it. Maybe the guy was tired or drunk or waiting for someone. I paid for my coffee, and before I could even mention gas, that's when the cashier's voice cut through the thick, humming silence.
Don't turn around.
He said, low, almost like a whisper.
Just walk straight to your car.
I wanted to laugh. I wanted to ask why. But something in the tone, the rasp of his voice, the way his eyes darted to the back of the store, froze me. My heart was pounding, my chest tight. I nodded, murmured a thanks that I could barely get out, and I walked out. I didn't look back, not once. I didn't breathe until I was in my car. Fumbled with the lock like it was the only thing keeping me safe. As I pulled onto the road, my hands still shaking, I glanced in the rearview mirror. The man in the brown jacket had come outside. He stood by the pump, still, silent, watching my car leave as if he had been waiting all along. My stomach lurched. I pressed the accelerator a little harder, willing the distance between us to grow. I never stopped at that station again. Here's the thing that's weird. When I tried to find it later on Google Maps, it wasn't there. That highway is littered with tiny stations, pretty spaced out, but I knew where I was, and none of them matched what I remembered. It was like it had existed only for that one night, just long enough for me to see it, and for me to feel that cold, prickle down your spine, fear. Even now, every fall, I drive that route. I keep my tank full always, just in case.